In this video, I'm going to go over the 2 reasons why you are struggling to leave space in your solo and give you an exercise that'll help alleviate that. A lot of improvisers will just start playing and they can't stop. It's like a run-on musical sentence, right? And the first reason why that happens is that you're not standing on the ideas that you play. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that one thing that might get you to play more notes and make you keep playing is when you're not happy with what you just played. If you start playing an idea and it doesn't come out quite right, the easiest thing to do is to keep playing to kind of cover up for the fact that you just played something that maybe didn't exactly fit the changes or wasn't exactly what you heard in your head. So, first thing you want to do is make sure you're playing ideas that you can confidently play and you're really standing on. Keeping it really simple so I can, every time I left space, right, I didn't land on a weird note. I played exactly what I was hearing in my head. So the first thing is just recognize that if you play something you're unhappy with, you're likely to try and cover it up by playing more. So remember to slow down and breathe. And before you start playing, make sure that you're ready to play the idea you play. Because if you're not ready and your fingers just start going, you'll get into that run-on sentence craziness. Second thing is that you're not hearing where the ideas end or hearing the space. Miles Davis once said, stop before you're done. And I think what he meant by that is if in your head you're hearing bee-ba-doo-ba-doo, boo-ba-doo-ba-doo, boo. Maybe don't play those last few notes. Bee-ba-doo-doo-doo-ba. Let the rhythm section play the boo-ba-doo-boo, whatever it is at the end of the phrase. And if you're not actively trying to hear the end of the phrase, hear the silence, hear the space, you're just going to fill the whole thing, right? Our fingers kind of have a mind of their own, and when they're at the keys, they just want to wiggle and go. So, make sure the ideas you play you can stand on them. You say, here's this idea, and stop and say, yes, I meant to play that. And then try to hear for the end of the idea, or at least try to just take your fingers away, right? I was confident every time I stopped playing, took my hand away. It was I know I just played what I meant to play, so I can take my hand away and let that sit with you. Remember, think about music as a language. When you're hearing someone tell a story and they just talk and talk and talk, and then Stacy showed up and she brought the casserole, but the casserole was too, I don't even know. I lost track of my own run-on sentence. But when somebody just talks and talks and talks, we glaze over, we don't listen. But when somebody says something, and then leave some space, we have time to digest it. Same thing at playing the piano, right? Say something, and then let the audience hear what you say. So make sure you're playing something you actually believe in. So how can we practice this? Here's the exercise I was talking about at the beginning of the video. What you want to do is you want to practice improvising over songs and have set times to leave space. I'm going to give you 4 permutations of this idea, but you can take this anywhere. So I've been playing Joy Spring, that's what I've been using as my example, but the first thing we want to do is practice playing 1 measure on, 1 measure off, 1 measure on, 1 measure off, alternating throughout the whole song. And if you spill a note into the next measure, especially if you're trying to resolve something, that's okay, but try to not let it just wander. Here we go, 1 measure on, 1 measure off, 1, 2, 3, 4, off. sometimes it was a little blurred. It's one thing I noticed is while I'm doing it is I heard ideas that were going over the bar line, and I had to edit myself while I was playing. Could do a whole nother video on that about playing the idea you hear versus the editing the idea you hear. But let's stay focused on this exercise here. So play one measure on, rest, one measure on, one measure off. We could switch that pattern, right? I played on the first and third measure, and the fifth and seventh, ninth, 11th. We could play on the second measure and the fourth measure. I said second. Second measure, fourth measure, sixth measure, right? So here's one off, one on. 1, 2, 3, 4, off. There we go. Kind of trickier for me in that one. I should practice that on this song. But it forces you to start and stop in different places. Actually know where you're going to start and stop. Said I had 2 other permutations, right? So if we're thinking of these 4, grouping the song in 4 measure chunks, we could play the first measure and the fourth measure and leave space in the second and third measure. This is a lot of space. Let's see how this goes. 2, 3, 4. Lots of space in the middle. It's kind of crazy. And we're coming back to the top here. Finally, one more permutation, right? We've done 1 and 3 on, 2 and 4 on, 1 and 4 on. Now we're going to do just measures 2 and 3. So rest on the first measure, play the next 2, rest on the fourth measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, rest. Off. Off for this one too. Right? That one's honestly the hardest one for me. This is good. I should work on this more. Once you do that, I'm always an advocate of do the exercise and be really strict about it, and then just play and let that idea seep through your playing and see where you can leave space. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? If you can find spaces to leave space, intentionally practice leaving space. Intentionally stop the phrase before you're done, hear the space, and play ideas you stand on. You'll be able to play a solo where each phrase has more impact. Then, as a teacher told me once, you don't have to play so many notes and people will think you're a mother. I won't swear, even though I'm almost at the end of the video. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this one. If you like this, Click like, drop a comment. Let me know what kind of what kind of struggles are you dealing with at the piano? How can I help? And if you want to learn how we could work together, you could dig into piano deeper than you are now, DM me on Instagram @AdventureWithDan. Happy practicing, y'all!